sound speeds, and a mistake was made. I was left unsupervised. And I have a big long list of things that I like to accomplish on days that I am left unsupervised. And ever since I saw my friend Matt Price over at Sound Rolling stick a hydrophone in a blender, I said to myself, that sounds like a lot of fun. I think I'm going to do that exact same thing. So today I'm going to be doing that. But because I record sound, I figured I might as well put a camera on it as well and at least record it and see what I get. So I am using, for gear, the Akaso V50, what is this thing? I think it's a V50 Pro is what it says on it. Yeah, a V50 Pro. And I tell you, it's actually got a nice little feel to it. And I've never used this camera. And it was sent to me on loan, most likely permanent loan, from my friend Andre over at Worth It or Not. And he sent it to me inside of this box, and it has all the accessories and everything in it. And it even still has this nice case on it that has the coverings over it. So I'm going to be taking those off right now on camera. Isn't this wonderful? Now, what hydrophone am I going to be using? Well, because I don't find very much, use for hydrophones in my life, and I have a hard time justifying spending a few $1,000s on a really nice hydrophone, like an ambient, or even a couple of $100s, which I'll probably do at some time in the future, buy a hydrophone. And if you want to send me one, by all means do it, and I'll put more things in the blender, provided it survives. But today I'm going to be using by Jez Riley French. He's a recording artist in the UK. He created this hydrophone, and this is the JRF D-Series hydrophone, and I did indeed buy the matching impedance matching transformer adapter. So I've actually permanently installed it to this, so that way it is on there solidly, and the way I permanently installed it is basically by adding heat shrink. So I'm going to be using this hydrophone probably through Joe's sticky stuff to hold it on the inside of the blender, and then I'm going to be using this action cam suspended over top in order to get some 4K images out of it. So without further delay, let's go ahead and watch some footage. Let me start by saying that the safety features built into our family blender prevented it from working when any part of it was open, so I ended up having to purchase a glass blender for this video. Let me also apologize for the changing light levels throughout this video. The sun was coming in through the windows and it kept going behind clouds, so there you have it. I'm going to go ahead and say my typical disclaimer that I'm a sound channel, not a picture channel, so it is what it is. If you keep your eye on the upper left-hand corner of the screen, you're going to sometimes see that the orange solo flashing light speeds up, and when it does, that's because I'm fast-forwarding through the footage. Also, for a best listening experience, listen with headphones. This will show you how oblivious I can be when I'm very focused on one particular thing. I didn't even notice the hydrophone had broken free from the inside of the blender for 1 minute and 40 seconds. And that's because I was setting my gain levels on the Mix Pre 6, and for whatever reason, I was tuning out the outside world and didn't even notice. Now, luckily, the hydrophone was strain relieved to the glass handle on the blender, so that's the only reason why it didn't get all chewed up. If you've watched my channel for a while, you know that I'm very fond of silicone rescue tape, and wrapping that around the hydrophone and sticking it to the inside of the blender allow the two of them to stick together flawlessly throughout this video, despite being wet. What you're watching here is a proof of concept test where I'm just verifying that the hydrophone isn't going to break free from the inside of the blender. I'm using the Neat Microphones Worker B large diaphragm condenser microphone to pick up the detailed sounds on the outside of the blender. I'm using the JRF D-Series hydrophone with a matching transformer adapter on the inside of the blender. And I'm even going to be using the microphone on the Akaso V50 Pro action camera in order to get a first-person perspective to accompany our 4K footage. I'm also using the Akaso Go app paired with the camera in order to help set my shots and to screen record just in case something goes wrong. Now we're going to cycle through each microphone option to get an idea how each one sounds. There are two leaks that I need to address here. The first one is from where the hydrophone is going out of the blender through the opening that you would normally pour the blended liquid out of, and the other is from where the camera is looking into the blender and the top where you would normally stick in fruit or whatever you're blending. I'm very interested in the sounds of the blender in action, especially from the inside. Now, when you see the green graphics on the screen, that means we're hearing that source. And when there's red graphics on the screen, that means we're not hearing that source. I'm also going to apologize that sometimes the footage is blurry. It's an action camera, so it has a wide lens, and it's designed for wide camera views, not macro views. As I now lower the action camera inside the blender, I feel it's important to say, do not try this at home. I'm also using press and seal to keep water inside the blender and a dish rag on top just to help out in case. Let's listen again and play with some audio combinations. I'm now topping off the blender with water, hoping that it keeps the air from entering the picture as much, so that way we can try to get a cleaner image. I'm also using quite a bit of press and seal on top to try to keep it sealed, but still, the water spills all over the place, just watch. The water's not dirty, it's just getting aerated during the blending process, and as these little air particles are being backlit, it helps them stand out just like rain does in movies. Now there's way too much water being spilled outside the blender, and I don't want an electrical fire, so at this time I'm going to submerge the camera completely between the wall of the blender and the hydrophone. I know, doesn't sound like a very good idea, but there's one way to find out. Sorry in advance, Andre, just in case. Now let's listen to the different microphone combinations again. Yeah, there's not a whole lot to look at on the inside of the blender. Sorry about that. Now, this part's funny actually. I stopped blending and I'm really impressed the Akasu didn't fall into the blades because I hadn't wedged it in all that well, but as I'm taking off the pressing seal, it gently falls to the bottom. Now, I know this is my one get out of destruction free card, so I might as well try again. After all, it is in a protective case, that's gotta amount to something, right? Well, here goes nothing. At this time, the camera was still recording, but when I went to retrieve the footage, the last file was corrupted, so what you saw is what I have. Not surprisingly, the V50 Pro got soaked, so recovering any footage at all was quite a blessing in itself. I guess yay for large video file sizes that have to be split on a memory card, because if they were all together as one, chances are that one file would have been corrupt. The camera was able to properly close the first video file when it went to record the second file, so that's a good thing. At this point, the camera's just wet, and I can recover wet electronics, but a damaged Wi-Fi card? That I can't recover, so my days of monitoring the Akasa from my smartphone are over. Now, I could call the video right here, send Andre back what's left of his Akasa, and be very thankful that it's in as good of working order as it is. I mean, the camera still records 4K footage just fine, the screen is not cracked or damaged in any way, and the lens is not chipped. But I know why you're still watching this video. So I hit record. The camera is now terminated and there's parts all over the blender, and as the cloudy water cleared, you can really see the damage. I did go fishing for a few key components to show you, but there's a lot of debris inside amongst the parts that you would actually recognize. Through this entire video, the silicone rescue tape had held the hydrophone in place. Really surprising considering all the water turbulence and the times that it was hit by the spinning Akaso. That's why I love silicone rescue tape. It's designed to stick to itself and glass very well even when wet. You may notice there's bubbles coming up from the bottom. Well, I was wondering about that too, but first I fished up the camera. The memory card was gone, as was the battery, lens, and many of the internal parts. Quite impressive damage, but it's really not that surprising considering the kind of day it's had. The protective case is made of hard plastic and it cracked open where the lock mechanism is on top, but aside from that, it held together impressively well. If you watch this channel for a while, then you may see a trend starting to develop here. Anything Andre sends me, I'll destroy and send back to him in parts. Just check out the last time right there. Before we wrap this up, I do have a serious topic to discuss, and that's regarding the bubbling battery. Lithium-ion batteries, like the rechargeable one that was in the Akasa V50 Pro, is a hazardous material and therefore needs to be recycled correctly, and places like Lowe's Home Improvement can do so for you. Part of using batteries is responsible battery ownership, and that means disposing of them properly when you are done using them. Single-use batteries cannot be recycled at places like Lowe's, only rechargeables, but places like Whole Foods, owned by Amazon, can accept your single-use batteries and recycle them there for you, for free no less. Now, for proper disposal procedures, go to EPA.gov and read all about it, link down in the description. Experiments like this are designed to be fun and educational, but should still be done safely, and that includes disposing of everything properly. And in case you're wondering, I did find the memory card, but it was damaged beyond repair, but believe me, I did try. So there you have it, a first-person 4K view and the sound of what it's like being blended up on the inside of a blender, and perhaps a little bit of unrecoverable damage. Now, I do want to also apologize to Andre. I'm sorry, but I was curious and left unsupervised. Thanks for tuning into this episode of SoundSpeech. Be sure to tune in the future for more interesting experiments, whatever comes to mind, accidental destruction perhaps, and sound advice. Have a question you'd like answered or want to add something? Be sure to write it in the comment section down below. You can also make a suggestion for future topics of discussion. Again, comment section down below, or you can email me at soundspeeds@yahoo.com. Be sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you won't miss out on future sound advice.